I want to thank all of you for coming this afternoon and for all you do to make Challenge Aspen such an amazing program for so many people. I first met John 13 years ago when I was 10. It had never been on skis in my life. He believed in me, never let me quit, and for 10 years in a row, he took me from the meadows to the edge and all over the mountain. He showed me tough love when I needed it. And I want to thank him for being my teacher and my friend. Last fall, I was asked to give a motivational talk to one of our local football teams. And this is the talk I gave that day. I'd like to share a little bit about my journey. And it is a journey I'm still on. I'm coming to a place where I'm content to be who God made me to be. And even more than just content, but thankful for who God made me to be. I couldn't have said that even last year. And if I'm honest, I still have days where I struggle. But gradually, God is teaching me that His way is always perfect. And His plans are good. When I was little, I didn't feel any different than anyone else. I loved to play sheriff, ride my horse, went to a regular classroom, in school, and got along with almost everyone. I noticed other kids that seemed different than the rest, but I never saw myself as different until I finally did. I don't remember exactly how old I was or even what grade, but I remember looking in the mirror and hating what I saw. I hated the way my face looked. I hated the way my voice sounded, and I started to cry. My mom heard me and asked what was wrong, and so I told her, and she cried too. And that was when she explained to me what Down syndrome was, and I didn't want to have that. I didn't want to be different. I didn't want to have special needs. I just wanted to be a regular kid with regular eyes and a regular voice and do regular stuff without it being so hard. So we cried some more. And then she told me that God had plans for me exactly the way I was. She shared some things that my grandfather told her on the phone right after I was born. He said, well, we have prayed for this baby since the day we knew he was on the way. And we never prayed that he would be strong or handsome or smart. We just prayed that he would come to know Jesus and love him and serve him. And I don't see any reason why that can't still happen. I listened to what she said, but it didn't really change how I felt. After that, I began to notice more things. Learning was harder, and also schoolwork took longer. I had to have an aide. Kids weren't mean to me, but I wasn't really included in a lot of things. My behavior got worse. I had to visit the principal pretty often. I believed in God, but honestly, I couldn't understand why he would do this to me. If this was God's plan for me, I didn't really like his plan. I went to church every week. Sunday school, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Awanas. I have memorized a lot of verses and talked a lot about God, but never really accepted responsibility for my own sin. When I was around 11, I really started asking a lot of questions, trying to make sense of God and myself. And I finally realized that the verse I memorized when I was 3 Romans 3 verse 23, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. That included me. So I trusted Christ as my Savior, and that changed a lot of things. I wanted to talk about God all the time. I wanted to understand things about the Bible that didn't seem to make sense. I wanted to do Bible study. I wanted to become a preacher, but one thing didn't really change, and that was how I saw myself. If my mom had met someone with Down syndrome, I didn't want to have them over. If someone with a disability tried to talk to me, I'd walk away. I told my parents it made me uncomfortable that I couldn't understand them. But now I realize it was a reminder of what I did not want to be, what I did not want to be associated with. Some of that was pride, but mostly it was an unwillingness to see myself the way God saw me, as loved and valued and created to do a specific work for Him. My mom tried to talk with me about it over the years, but I wasn't really interested in discussing it until a couple of years ago. I began to see how my Down syndrome made people more open to me, and how it opened doors, not only to preach, but to pray with people, encourage them, and love them, and show them they are of value too. This past March, my mom asked me if I wanted to share something on Facebook for World Down Syndrome Day. And finally, I was ready. I was able, for the first time, to say, I'm thankful that God made me this way. Because now I see there is a purpose for me, just like God has a purpose for all of you. And it isn't based on how strong you are, or how smart, or how good looking. Those things may influence our lives, but in the end, they don't define us. What defines us is our character, how we treat others, how we love our enemies, how we serve without needing rewards, how we are generous with our time and our skills, and how we love God with both our hearts and minds. If these things define us, then we can go through life thankful for who God made us and live a life that has a purpose. So this year has brought some changes in me, an acceptance of who I am, the way God created me. And in the fact that different doesn't have to be bad. A couple of years ago, I was asked to speak at a community forum with Bristol, Virginia, and Bristol, Tennessee city leaders. They are trying to improve the job opportunities for people with special needs. And since I have a job at Chick-fil-A, they wanted to know how it made me feel working there. I told them this: it makes me feel like a regular person, like everybody else. I've never been on a football team, but Chick-fil-A is like a team for me. We have different jobs there and different responsibilities, but we all are working toward a common goal. In football, you train together, practice together, and play together, trying to win games. There are different roles to play, but together you make a single team that works together, supports one another, and learns what it is that each one does. This is the most effective way to work and to play, and I believe it is the best way to live. To be able to look at every single person and see value and purpose, the ability to see beyond looks and intelligence and skill and popularity, beyond what that person can do for you. And maybe ask the question, what can I learn from them? I haven't always done this. I was attracted to kids who were normal and popular girls who were pretty. In middle school, one of my classmates with Down syndrome had a crush on me. I wouldn't have anything to do with her. I couldn't see what was on the outside, and so often this is what we do with each other. We only see the cover of what makes up a person, and from that, we decide what value they have. Most of us have heard this before, but hearing is not the same as doing. So my challenge to you all this evening is to do something. Set the tone for how people should be seen and treated. Don't just be followers, but be leaders others will follow. I know a lot of you may be doing this already, but there is always more we can do to set an example of acceptance, whether it's of kids with disabilities or kids who don't fit in, kids who are nerds, kids who lack the skills to be popular or even to be considered normal. That's where we begin to bring change here in our classrooms, in our schools, in our communities, in our world, and in Challenge Aspen. If we really believe in something, we will act on it. It will change our behavior. One of my favorite books of the Bible is James. And a few years ago, I memorized the first chapter. James talks about several things in chapter 1, but one of its most important points is this very thing. Don't just listen to what is right. Do it. And I just want to tell the Father, you're the one that I glorify.
Right on, buddy. That was amazing.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you guys for showing up. Now, just because this is, I told a friend of mine that you were doing this, and this friend of mine said, here, please give him this envelope, because it's the first step on your future of being a motivational speaker. Open it up.
That was a John Konowski mic drop if I've ever.
Thank you guys for showing up this afternoon.
It's so awesome.
It's your first paid speaking job, buddy.
Nice job.
Well deserved.